This is lecture number 4 in lecture series Indirect Taxation GST CA Final. In the last few lectures we have studied what does the meaning of supply is, what is consideration. Now in today's lecture we will study about what does course or furtherance of business means. GST is essentially a tax only on commercial transactions. That is, there is no tax on personal consumption. Here only those supplies that are in course or furtherance of business, they qualify as supply under GST. Resultantly, any supplies made by any individual in his personal capacity do not come under the ambit of GST unless now there is some sort of exceptions written over here, that unless they come under they fall within the definition of business. Now this is very interesting, that in whatever done in personal capacity is not taxable under GST, provided that they are not business, they are not part of business, or they don't fall under the definition of business. So what is business? That needs to be explained. Meaning of supply made in the course or furtherance of business. Any activity undertaken in course or furtherance of business would constitute a supply. In order to understand the term in the course or furtherance of business, we need to first understand what the term business is. So, business has been defined under section 2, subsection 17, inter alia. Inter alia means which, amongst other things, includes trade, commerce, manufacture, profession, vocation, etc., whether or not undertaken for monetary benefits. So business has been defined. Now again, it's not an exhaustive definition, it has different terms, and again it doesn't, irrespective of whether the monetary benefits are undertaken or not, business has been very exclusively or very vaguely defined. So it's not mandatory that if there is no monetary benefits associated with any transaction, then that will not fall under the definition of business. Business is very vague. How many terms have been included in business? See, trade, commerce, manufacture, profession. Even if there is no monetary benefit, then any activity which is incidental to trade, commerce, manufacture, or profession, or ancillary to them, that ancillary to trade, commerce, manufacture, or profession, then any activity of same nature, even if no volume and continuity. And this is important. What does it mean, no volume or continuity? So what it says is that even if it is done once, even if it, there is no any intention to continue it, that is, when you dispose of your assets, like when you close your business, then that activity is not done continuously, right? It will stop. It's actually the end of your business. That is also included. Even if no volume, then there is no frequency also. Continuity and no volume is what? No frequency. For example, a person starts an adventure, okay, so uh, he buys something and holds it and then sell it, right? uh, that is for once he did it. For example, a person is a teacher, yet he is very good at painting. He makes a painting and sells it, okay. Now that painting, it's a once in a lifetime thing, that painting and selling it. Yet, so there is no, plus there is only one painting, yet there is no there is definitely monetary benefit, but there is no volume, there is no continuity. It's also not in is not his business. He's a teacher, he's not a painter, yet it will fall under the nature of an activity. Why? because it falls under the definition of business. So volume and continuity is not an mandatory criteria. Supply acquisition of goods including capital. So if there is uh, any supply means what you are selling it. Supply has been very which has been defined earlier. The supply, what is acquisition? Acquiring something. Okay, now which includes capital goods and services. So it's not only the trading goods, it also includes the capital goods and services if it is in connection with commencement or closure of business. Now, provisions of facilities by club and association to its member. Now, this is a very unique provision, and the reason behind why it has been written over here is to override the judgment given by Supreme Court that members and its association they are one and same. So it has been explicitly written in the this act that notwithstanding any judgment given. Why? So if any uh, facility or provision or any service is being provided by any person other than individual, that is except a person, any person other than individual means what, association, a partnership, and many other like them, many other arrangements, that if they provide any facility to its member, then they would be treated as a business, and GST would be leviable. It directly overrides the judgment given by Supreme Court in VAT regime or service tax regime. Admission for consideration to any premise. So if there is a fee for admission to any premise, entry fee, then GST would be leviable. Service as a holder office. Now, for example, this is very unique concept that if you're a holder of office, ICI chairperson, okay, now even President of India, yeah, they do fall under the definition of business, but they have been exempted later on. So what does any office holder, the services that the office holder provides, that is what accepted in course or furtherance of trade or profession, that profession, for example, a doctor, yeah, of a hospital, then or chartered accountant, if that person is what, also a director, so he's an office holder. Now in the course of that service, that office has been accepted in because he is of certain profession, then that service which he provides, that is leviable by GST. Activities of race club, including by way of totally satyr or a licensed bookmaker, or activities of a licensed bookmaker in such club. Totally satyr means bookie who accepts bids, and bookmaker or activities of licensed bookmaker in such club. So race clubs and all are also part of business. Any activity by government, local authority, or public authority, they all are business. What the government is doing or the authority is doing, any government or the local authority, they all or the all public authorities, whatever they are doing, that is part of business. Now, activities transaction, which is, it has been explained here, incidental or ancillary to. Now see the terms given over here. The terms are trade, commerce, manufacture, profession, vocation, painting, adventure, wager, or any other similar activity. Again, the definition is not an exhaustive one. In addition, any activity undertaken by central government or state government or any local authority in which they are engaged as public authority should also be construed as business. For any trade, commerce, or any other similar activity to qualify as business, frequency, volume, continuity, regularity, they are not prerequisites. This is very important. Okay, even it's once in a lifetime, even it's only for one, even if not part of my own profession yet falls under the definition of business. For example, a teacher, the profession is not painting, yet painting and a monetary value involved in that, there is a supply of service, there is a consideration, then it is definitely a business, it falls under the definition of business. Now some examples have been given. See, you have to understand whether it is in course or furtherance of business or not, and they are actually the clarification given by CBIC. Now, Rishabh, a person buys a car for his personal use and after a year sells it to a car dealer. So, I bought a car, I sold it after a few years of use. Now, when I'm selling it to the car dealer after using it, then is it a supply? Yes or no? There is a consideration, there is a goods, but I'm selling a personal car. Okay. So, there is no course or furtherance of business. This was clarified by CBIC. Okay. So, second hand sale of personal asset, remember, of personal asset is not business. Manikarnika sold her old bangles and earrings. Now, those old jewelry, used jewelry, second hand selling of jewelry to jeweler, that is again not a course of business. Why? Why? Because it is again not, cannot be said to be course or furtherance of business. Now, since business includes vocation, okay, what is vocation? A famous actor paints some painting and sells them. It's a vocation, right? Because a consideration and then is donated to a charitable trust. The sale of paintings qualifies as supply. Why? Because as it is made in the course of furtherance of business. So, where is business? He is an actor, but there are some proceeds of the consideration that has been donated to charitable trust. This is very important. This one, uh, this example, I'll do it this way. You have to understand this one, this example. See, even if he's an actor, even if he is doing a painting, some proceeds are coming. Now, what he is trying to do? Why? Because he donated it. It's not for personal use. Yeah. Okay. The view taken in 7 and 8, or yeah, then what is that? The departmental FAQ. There is another school of thought according to which, since the definition of business includes trade, commerce, or any other similar activity, whether or not there is frequency, volume, content, regularity, or literal interpretation, the acceptability of such transaction, however, will have to be examined under the provision of section 9, discussed in chapter 2. Now, however, since this view may not always lead to logical conclusion, it is more prudent to take a purposive approach. What is the purpose of this transaction? So we have to take a purposive approach as followed by departmental FAQ. See, Resident Welfare Association provides service of depositing electricity bills of the resident in lieu of some nominal charge. Now, I am providing, the association is providing some sort of service to its member and charging something. Now, this is a business as defined in the definition. The business definition only it includes. Now, admission of person to any premise. Now, circus, cinema hall, amusement park, इसमें जो एंट्री फी है सब पे GST लगेगा. ठीक है. Race club, Royal Turf Race Club, engaged in facilitating the wagering transaction or horses placed through totally sated. Totally sated is a device showing the number and amount of bets staked on a race to facilitate the division of total among those backing the winner. So it's a device. Now, then what will happen? The Royal Turf Race Club gets commission, which is deducted and retained by the club from the total bets value. So, for example, 10 people are betting, so everyone is betting 5, 10, 100 rupees, for example. Okay? 100 is very less, but it could be any money. So, if some part of it goes into as a commission to the club. So, that club, it's again a business. One exception to codes of furtherance of business rule. That is, even if there is an import of service without consent. So whenever there is an import of service, not goods, not goods. Okay? Because if there is an import of good with or with uh, with or without consent, import of goods, if there is an import of goods, then it has to be checked whether it's in codes of furtherance of business. Because if I'm importing something, yeah. So, if a person is importing a service, only a service, then for a consideration, then it falls under the ambit of definition business, even if it is for personal use. Okay? So, irrespective of course or furtherance of business, import of service for a consideration is business. Now, from the above discussion, it can be inferred that if an activity or transaction satisfies all the above parameters, different parameters have been given, then as discussed in point A, B, and C. What is A and B and C? C was course or furtherance of business, B was consideration, A was supply. Then it is a supply under GST. Supply under GST. Okay. Now, after understanding the basic concept of supply, let us now examine taxability of few transactions.